Now, after Julius Caesar, we will talk about Brutus. Now, there has been a lot of discussion about who is the important character in Julius Caesar. Is it Caesar or is it Brutus? Everybody had their points that could be considered. In the third act itself, Julius Caesar dies, and the rest of the play goes on with Brutus. Why not then Brutus is also an important character? Others say Shakespeare has written the play in spite of death of Caesar in the third act. He has named the play after his name, after him. Anyways, this kind of a controversy goes on in Hindi cinema also. Ah, who is the hero in the film Shakti or Mohabbatein? Is it Dilip Kumar or Amitabh Bachchan? Whether it is Amitabh Bachchan or Shah Rukh Khan in Mohabbatein. Let it be, we are not talking about the Bollywood cinema. We are discussing on William Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar. And more specifically, we are talking about Brutus in this episode. The whole discussion is led because Brutus believes that he is doing a right thing for Rome. He thinks he is a part of that assassinating group or conspirators because he wants to put an end to the betrayal and unfaithfulness of Julius Caesar. He was driven by a republican ideas, and possibly Caesar might not be to him, to Brutus, not be a suitable person to take forth these ideas. What could be the tragic flaw in the character of Brutus? It is his sense of honor, a poor and a quick judgment, and of course his idealism. He was not smart enough to understand the falseness of the letters thrown at his house that built his trust in the conspirators. Here, please let me take a break and talk about what happens. Say, for example, Macbeth, another tragedy of William Shakespeare. Before killing King Duncan, Macbeth says, "If I fail." So, one critic had said very aptly, Macbeth too had a wish to kill King Duncan. जैसे मुन्नी बदनाम हुई वैसे ही लेडी मैकबेथ खाली पीली बदनाम. Lady Macbeth instigated Macbeth to kill King Duncan is general belief. In the college days, one of my friends even said to that extent, all women are like that only. This was too much, yeah. So friends, that critic, that critic, I forgot his name. होता है यार, होता है, कभी कभी ऐसे भी हो जाता है, इंसान भूल भी जाता है. तो that critic meant to say, why would Macbeth say, if I fail? According to the critic, Macbeth had a hidden desire to kill King Duncan. He was also equally ambitious. He also wanted to become the king, but he was much worried about the consequences. And that is why he says, if his mission of killing King Duncan fails, what would happen? Direct, Ram Nam Sat. He would be killed. He would be killed instantly. I felt that was a new way of understanding the play Macbeth. Let us come back to our play, to Brutus. We see Brutus is the character who has number of conflicts. He is a very good friend of Caesar, and he sees his idealism in Caesar. Why should he kill Caesar then? It is because he too loves Rome and expresses himself this feeling several times. The conflict he undergoes that does he need to kill his most trusted person, Julius Caesar? despite of telling by others that Antony should not be allowed to speak. Brutus permits Antony to speak on the corpse of Julius Caesar. It shows only his innocence and equally the trust in his judgment about Caesar. It could be taken as his wrong decision now because it is the funeral speech of Antony that led the tables turned on and the whole of the room was against the conspirators. Brutus was in fear of Julius Caesar because he could see that Caesar was getting a lot of power along with the trust of Romans. Brutus believed in justice. Brutus believed in freedom and even the common good of the people. Julius Caesar is a play that happens on two stages. The first one is the assassination of Julius Caesar himself, and the other one is aftermath of the assassination. It is Brutus who comes out as the key character in both the happenings. Brutus plays a very important role in all matters. He plans the assassination, he approves it, thus arranging the assassination, and finally even gives a speech after it has happened. So, in the whole conspiracy, he comes to the foreground from the background. He becomes a tragic character by the way things happen. By the spirit of honor, Brutus is really an honorable man who was almost blind to the words of Cassius. He hardly applies logic while Cassius speaks and becomes a narrow follower. He is undoubtedly a stoic and important person in that whole Roman society. Friends, stoic is a person who is driven by logic and not by emotions. When Julius Caesar says, "You to Brutus," he just listened to the last words of Caesar as a stoic. It was his love for Rome made him a part of the traitors. He chose assassination to Roman Republic. In the funeral speech, he defended he defended assassination without any hesitation. His self-control was immense. It was he who stabbed Caesar in the end, but stabbed fatally. Friends, if we see Brutus today, we find he was a man of many virtues. He was deeply rooted in honor. It is that love which brought him the tragedy. Brutus can be praiseworthy for the two things. He chooses to take evil means to the good ends. In him, we see the whole panorama of human life. Now, now let us talk about and try to understand the character of Mark Antony, one of the again major characters. Friends, Shakespeare has written other play named Antonio and Cleopatra. Actually, it is a love and a romantic story. Are? How come? Or just now we came to know that Antonio was very closely related or closely connected to Julius Caesar, and Cleopatra was his half girlfriend. In today's language, half girlfriend only of Julius Caesar. मामला क्या है भाई, कोनो समझ में नहीं आ रहा था, सब साला दिमाग में खिचड़ी पकत है. You may be asking me in your mind, ठीक ठीक सीधी तरह से बताती क्यों नहीं हो भाई? Three idiot dialogue. So the thing is like this. Cleopatra was about 30 years younger to Caesar. 30 years. You might think of the cinema jodi like Rajesh Khanna and Dimple Kapadia, like thespian Dilip Kumar and Saira Banu, Saif Ali and even Karina, Nick Jones and Priyanka, Milind Soman and his wife Ankita. And if you are interested in Hollywood, Al Pacino and his wife Noor Al Falah. This old versus new can be continued for the whole episode. Our purpose is just to note that there was a huge age difference between Cleopatra and Caesar. Of course, she was the most beautiful lady by that time. She has fueled the fancy or imagination of many poets. What were her beauty tips? Her prominent nose, sloping forehead, sharply pointed chin, thin lips, hollow looking eye sockets, light olive gloss skin, light blue eyes, and many more things had become praiseworthy. One poet had said, "It was merely a pleasure to hear the sound of her voice." Of course, she was beloved to Caesar, but after the death of Caesar, उसका टाका एंटोनियस के साथ भिड़ गया. But it was not all of a sudden. She gave military support to Antony in civil war that broke after Caesar's death. Antony, of course, is a key figure in Julius Caesar. He is a clever man. He acts differently when he comes to know of Julius Caesar's death. He fools Brutus by showing that he falls to his side. He plays politics. He knows a perfect timing when and how to go against Brutus and the other assassinators. Loha garam hai, mahar do hatoda kind of a thing. He makes use of it in his desired way. He is remembered for his speech at the funeral of the Julius Caesar. Like many politicians, he seems like a seasoned politician of today. His speech given on the dead body of Julius Caesar, through which he stirs the whole Rome against Brutus and his company. His speech is remarkable example of how he deals with the psyche of the people in general. It is often referred how to deliver a public speech. We too can find many politicians have grown themselves into the key persons as the political leaders only because they can deliver exceptional good speeches. Antonio had a genuine love and affection for his master Julius Caesar, and that is why he chose to speak in the funeral. Do you know that Antonio appears only 4 times before the death of Caesar and speaks only 5 lines? Please remember. Even a Bollywood actor, do you remember that? A Bollywood actor, Nawazuddin Siddiqui, used to get only one or at the most 2 scenes in the cinema. Have you noticed him in Munna Bhai MBBS or Sarfarosh? But the same man worked with all the 3 Khans in major role. I know it was a diversion. I take the main point immediately, even if I take. Cassius assesses him as a shrewd contriver. Antonio knows well that he must deal with Brutus because Brutus was important in the situation. That is why he flatters Brutus, calling him as the noble, wise, and valiant, and even honest. Antonio had a danger only from one person, and that is from Cassius. Very smartly, he catches the hold of Brutus, who was more powerful than any of the conspirators. He even is ambitious person. He is confident. He is confident, he is successful, and even sometimes ruthless. He knows the Rome is suffering from civil war. Though he has no concern for the welfare of the sufferers, he was actually a person who has begun a civil strife by his speech at the funeral. But, but because of his ambition now, he is willing to put his nephew to death than to argue for his life. He tries to put legacy of Caesar as much as he can do to the Rome. He openly talks that he will remove Lepidus from the power because his usefulness is over by now. He is active to defeat Brutus and keeps his differences with Octavius and Cassius. We see that he praises openly Brutus when Brutus, is dead. Antony's speech given in the funeral is a topic in itself that we can talk about some other time. He can be seen as a person who has a war at himself. He is struggling himself to fulfill his own personal desire to ascend the power of showing his fidelity to Rome. He was actually torn between his love for Cleopatra and his power as a general. He was not able to balance these emotions, a lover and a general. He undoubtedly was a very charismatic personality. He was known for his military skills. He has a power to inspire loyalty in many soldiers at the same time, which we see he can do in his speech. Antony is deeply devoted to Cleopatra. Even he decides to give up his generalship for the sake of beloved. We see in a play he dies in her arms despite his weakness as a lover in one of the share of Makmur Dehlevi. As it goes in, प्यार के लिए कुछ खास दिल मखसूस होते हैं. प्यार के लिए कुछ खास दिल मखसूस होते हैं. ये वो नगमा है जो हर साज पे छेड़ा नहीं जाता. Antonio is a brave person. He is intelligent and pleasure-loving person. He rose to power, defeating assassins of Julius Caesar. He is the hero in many ways. He was not like Brutus, but he was an incredible soldier, capable orator, and a leader of a man. He was a politician often given to a bit of arrogance. He was a friend to a friend and bitterest enemy to those people who were not his friends. यारों का यार और दुश्मनों का दुश्मन. Before you become my dushman. For talking so much, let me stop. Of course, you know my ending words of the episode. Share, like, subscribe, forward. And I say something. अरे भूल गया मैं. भूला. Anyway, thank you very much.